What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Instant Reaction here on the Colts Audio Network and on the Colts YouTube page. I'm JJ Stankevitz, joined every week by Colts Ring of Honor wide receiver Bill Brooks as we break down the Colts' latest game. Bill, Colts are winners in their second preseason game, 21-13 over the Arizona Cardinals. Here's the part of the bit where I say that's the only time we bring up the score on this podcast, even though the Colts did get the win. Bill, not none of the starters played, but almost none of the starters played is a poor grammatical way to put it. You saw a couple guys out there who we'll get to, Nick Cross and JuJu Brents, I think most notably, but no Anthony Richardson, no Joe Flacco. Down the offense, no Michael Pittman Jr., A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce, none of them played. You did not see any Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox, obviously no Jonathan Taylor. And then the entire starting five offensive line also did not play. So, Bill, let's start with a quarterback. So I thought, on a whole, had a pretty good game. And I think the big question I have here is there a bit more of a competition for QB3 than maybe we would have thought coming into training camp?
You know what? I think it might be JJ. As you said, I thought all three quarterbacks played well. They did some nice things. You saw Bean score a touchdown, take a team down the field for two touchdowns, two scores, and so it's good to see that by those backups there. And Sam played well. He did a nice job out there. So I think there's a little battle. Those guys are not only battling, of course, here for the Indianapolis Colts, but they want to get all that stuff on tape. Sam still wants to get stuff on tape. He's done well in the preseason. He's done well when he had his opportunity to get into the games. And Bean and Slovis, they also did a good job. So give those guys credit for what they did. And that's what you want to do. If you're a backup or you're a young guy, you want to have an opportunity to get some game on tape. So not only the team that you're playing for can see what you can do when it's game time, but also the other 31 teams that will watch this film and see, who they may bring, that if the Colts cut or whomever they cut, they could probably bring into their team for the season or for a practice squad or possibly making their roster. So it's good for those guys to play well, and it's good that you want to make it difficult for the coaches. You want to make it difficult for the coaches to make decisions. And that's their job as far as players to be professionals, go out there and play hard and play well. And I thought the quarterbacks did that last night.
So I talked about this on the pregame show with you, Bill, where I was kind of asked about that third quarterback. And the important point here is the NFL's new emergency quarterback rule that last year stipulated you had to carry that emergency quarterback on the 53-man roster. Now you can carry that guy on the practice squad. So if the Colts decide, hey, we want Sam Ehlinger to be that guy, they can put him on the practice squad. But to get to the practice squad, Bill, you have to clear waivers.
Waivers, yes.
And there could be a team that looks at Sam Ehlinger and says, we just found our backup quarterback. And we want to claim him on waivers. And Shane Steichen was very complimentary of Sam Ehlinger after the game yesterday. He said he's a great leader in that room. He's a very smart football player. He's kind of got a little bit of playmaking to him. And he said, quote, but he battles, he scratches, he claws, love everything about Sam. So I thought that was notable just because I think it's exciting. It's exciting to see Jason Bean, right? Like this guy, he's a really exciting football player. Let's not forget Sam Ehlinger is going into his fourth year in the NFL. He knows what to do. He's an incredibly, incredibly cerebral player and someone who is a real asset in that quarterback room. So let's not forget, essentially, this is me saying, let's not forget about Sam Ehlinger.
Exactly.
Having said that, if Sam Ehlinger were to be claimed off of waivers, if a team said, yeah, we really like this guy coming out, we like the stuff that he's put on tape, we've always wanted a shot at him. Now you're talking about, okay, is Jason Bean our emergency quarterback? I think it was notable, Bill, that he got that second shot at it on Saturday, that Kedon Slovis, who's kind of your more traditional quarterback in a sense, he was the third guy to come out and play. And then, Bill, when Bean played, he was good. He threw the one pick, maybe trying to do a little bit too much on that play. But like you said, Bill, leading those two touchdown drives, and he's got something to him. It's like when you see it, you know it. One of those things, Bill. And like Jason Bean, he's got something to him.
He's a good athlete. I think you saw that last night, him running. I thought this one he scored on, nice play. I think he had the option of course, running it or throwing it. If the receiver wasn't covered, then he decided to run it, got it into the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. The other one, the play that I like that I saw out there was the one he ran. He didn't score, but he had a chance to either go out of bounds or try to get that touchdown. He loaded his shoulder there. He didn't get the touchdown, but that showed me a lot about him trying to get that score and show that he has the athletic ability. He can run, he can throw the ball. So he showed you that he can play, and I think that helps the Colts in making decisions, of course, going forward. Because as you said, the key point for the Colts is if they do let Sam go, and he's on waivers, you know what? I really think more than likely someone's going to pick up Sam, claim Sam off of waivers, and then they will have him. Then, the Colts should feel pretty good about the quarterback they have. They will sign. They could put on the practice squad if it's Bean or if it's Slovis. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this week going into Cincinnati, the joint practice, and then the game, knowing that the stars are going to play, but see who comes out when Flacco and Richardson is not playing, and Ellinger.
I think, Bill, just to kind of put a bow on this, like when you think about what the Colts did with their roster this offseason, there's a reason why even if Bean's listed as a QB slash wide receiver or running back or whatever, they still brought in Slovis.
Yes.
So, a year ago it was, we're going to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Now you have 5 because Jason Bean just continues to be like, well, we can't move him off quarterback because he's too good at it. So those guys are there for a reason. And that's sort of, you're competing with Ellinger, but also a little bit of insurance in case you do wind up losing him.
But
right,
also,
JJ,
I want to say one thing. Also with Bean, he's like you said, running back slash wide receiver slash quarterback. Well, he gives you that flexibility. If you need a player other than a quarterback for an emergency situation, maybe you could bring him up, let him play, get in there. Maybe if he's on needs to be a special teams player for one game, for a couple of plays, maybe you could slide him in there as well. So for him to have that flexibility to be available to play some other positions, that helps the Colts out tremendously.
Yeah, a really promising practice squad player, I think,
yes.
to kind of start there. All right, let's talk about the running backs. I thought it was a good day for that group, Bill. You see Tyler Goodson, he goes for 6 carries, 35 yards with a touchdown. Evan Hall, 4 carries, 26 yards and a touchdown. And then Xavier Scott, he has 11 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. All 3 of those guys ran the ball really, really well. But Goodson and Hall, I think that you saw some really good things. And we're talking about making it hard on the coaches in the front office. Both of those guys, I thought, put some really good things on tape in this game. Evan Hall also catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah, I know those guys played well. Tyler Goodson ran extremely hard there, scoring that touchdown to get the Colts going there. So you have guys that are playing, and it's good to see Evan Hull back there who, unfortunately had that injury last year, but he came back this year and he's showing what he can do. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He did have that one catch last night. So it's good that these guys are out there battling. We know JT is going to be the guy in the backfield, and we don't know who's going to be number 2, but more than likely who's been playing well is Trey Sermon before he got hurt, his hamstring injuries. But that third position there, those guys are battling for it. And I like this team because these guys know they're in a competition to make the team or to get a spot in the team or get playing time, but they get along with each other so well, and they root for each other to do well, knowing that, hey, if these guys doing well, and I want a spot in this team, I'm going to have to go out there and play well. And these guys are doing that. And as we talk about, iron sharpens iron. So these guys are going out there playing hard, playing well, and doing the best they can. So I'm happy to see Evan Hull, come back from the injury from last year. And it's good to see Xavier Scott get out there and play and do something. And Tyler Goodson had a good game.
Yeah, cool moment for Xavier Scott for seeing him get in the end zone for the first time in his professional career. I want to talk a little bit about the offensive line, too, especially the rookie offensive lineman, kind of a check-in on Tanner Bortolini, Matt Gonzalez, and then this kid Dalton Tucker, number 68. He's having a really good training camp. He's an undrafted free agent. He wasn't, your day 2, early day 3 guy, but he's having a really good camp. And it's funny, I was just going back and watching Evan Hall, the first down rush he had in the first quarter. And on it, Tucker He's playing right guard. Dalton Tucker, by the way, played every single snap in this game, all 72 snaps at right guard. He pulls from right to left and he blocks down on a defensive end and he just annihilates him on this play. And the C's kind of part for Evan Hull to have a nice little run there. I like some of the stuff I'm seeing out of these rookie offensive linemen. I think Matt Gonzalez, I had a chance to catch up with him in the locker room after the game, and he told me he's kind of feeling more comfortable. But he also told me the best teacher is failure, and going against Kwity Dayo Odangbo, Leatu Latu in practice all the time, that's teaching him some stuff that you're now starting to see him grow a little bit. Tanner Bortolini played both guard and center in this game. I thought that's great experience for him with his interior versatility. So I think you're seeing some good things in terms of that young depth with those three guys who just joined the Colts this year come through.
And that's big for this team, and I hope this doesn't happen, but more than likely, unfortunately, you might have one of those starting offensive linemen miss a game or two, and someone's going to have to step in. And for those guys, as you mentioned, Bortolini playing both center and guard, and guys having flexibility, they can go in at a moment's notice that if someone goes down and they're on the roster, they can go in and play a position that, maybe they haven't practiced a whole lot, but they've got some time there, so they understand how to play the position and hopefully don't let anyone else down on that offensive line. And those guys have been playing well, and give those guys credit for going out there and playing hard, especially you said Tucker playing all the snaps. He's going to be tired today. He's going to be sore a little bit today, playing all the snaps. So those guys have played well. I thought they did a nice job. I know on one play, I thought Gonzalez did an okay job. I know one play, the pass that Ellinger threw to Cleveland, Ellinger stepped up and the guy got around Gonzalez a little bit, but for the most part, watching those guys play, I thought they did a nice job giving some time and protection for the quarterbacks and also opening some holes for those running backs. And that's what they have to do. And those young guys are learning on the job, and that's good to see. And now they get a chance to go up against another team this week in Cincinnati. And I think that'll be a good test for the young guys when they go out there and practice against the Bengals and also play in the preseason game.
Yeah, Gonzalez actually mentioned that to me. He was like, yeah, I had a play today where I almost tackled our quarterback. And like
but that's going to happen. That's going to happen.
I
mean, he's a rookie. It's going to happen. But he's a good athlete out there, and playing outside on the tackle. Out there at tackle, you're going to be on an island sometimes, and sometimes that's very difficult.
Well, not only is he a rookie, he's a guy who I think he only played in 4 games last year because he got hurt in his last year at Pitt. But now to kind of transition this conversation, the last thing I asked Gonzalez was, are you sick of facing Charlie Partridge coached pass rushers? Because he got it his whole time at Pitt, and he shows up to Colts camp, and it's like, well, here we go again. Here comes some more Charlie Partridge guys at him. I thought the Colts pass rush, had a really impactful game, not just on the stat sheet, but you could just feel it. Like, this is for those guys who are kind of the first guys off the bench, Dayo Odangbo. You're seeing some really good things out of Isaiah Land at defensive end. We've talked so much about Adetomiwa Adebawore. I feel like every time I open my mouth about the Colts, I'm like, you got to see what this guy did. And boy, did he do some stuff against the Cardinals on Saturday. You saw, I thought, a really impactful, consistent pass rush when that second unit was in there, Bill. What did you see out of that group kind of collectively getting after the Cardinals quarterbacks on Saturday?
That's it, JJ. They got after the Cardinals quarterback last night because those guys did a good job. Tommy did a nice job of getting some pressure on the quarterback. He had a sack. Isaiah Land did a good job getting some pressure. He had a sack. So you have some guys out there showing what they can do, showing if they get the opportunity to play, they can make plays. And that's what you want to see from young guys. You want to see young guys go out there and make plays. And, the lights were on them last night, and they did a good job. So give the young guys a lot of credit. They went out there and played well. I saw the guys play physical, and that's what you want to be on defense. You want to play physical. I saw those guys play physical, and I saw those guys give great effort out there. And that's what you want at the defensive line spot, because it's going to be a lot of times you're going to rush the quarterback and you're not going to get him. But if you continue to give that effort, you're going to make a play sooner or later. You're going to either get the quarterback or you're going to disrupt the play somehow in some way for the offense. So those guys continue to play hard, continue to play well. I like what I see, and that is good for the Colts because it's going to give them depth. I know we've been talking about this week in and week out about the depth and have these guys rotating in and out, rotating in. I think that is huge for the defensive line because having Buck in there, Grove in there, Quiddy, Dio, those guys in there, Taekwon, they can go out and play well. But for those guys to play 60 and 70 snaps, they're eventually going to lose something as you get closer to the end of the game. But you want those guys fresh at the end of the game. So you're going to have to put some other guys in there. And you don't want to be a drop off. And the way these guys have played last night, those young guys, Tommy and Isaiah Land and some of those guys, I don't think you're going to have a drop off when they get in there during the game. They're going to continue to make plays and help the defense out.
Yeah, I mean, this is why the Colts talk about they want to have 8 deep on their defensive line. And it's because you want to, if you can rotate those guys in and you can mean that means that on a 3rd and 7 with the game on the line, DeForest Buckner is feeling at his best.
He's fresh.
There you go. And right now, the way that you're seeing Adetomiwa Adebawore play, he told me he still has some things he wants to work on the run game, but he feels like he's improving there. But against the pass, I mean, every time I feel like I turn the tape on this, he's doing something. The sack he had, he used his power to just push the guard back into Clayton Tune and create a sack that way. He had another one where he kind of got chipped by the guard, and then the guard went to go help to the guard's left, and then the tackle came over, and Tommy was able to re-engage. He used his hands to get off the tackle, and then this stands out, Bill. So Clayton Tune's maybe 6 yards away from him in the pocket, and just like that pure acceleration that Tommy has to just, bam, get into the backfield like that. You can sort of laugh and say like, oh, haha, where does like a 4.49 ever show up with a defensive tackle? Well, when he's coming right at you in the pocket with the sort of acceleration and speed that he has for a guy 280 pounds, it showed up there. That's for sure.
It definitely showed up, and it will show up in the games, that speed that he has. And the quarterbacks will feel it if he has an opportunity to get to the quarterback. But another thing for him, he said, this offseason he really worked on his hands, to use his hands, and he showed in this game today, it showed in this, that he used his hands, that he worked at it. And that's big for the young guys. And we have to go from year 1 to year 2. That's usually when you make your biggest jump from a young guy, as far as your rookie year to your second year. And he's done that, and he's taken it serious during the offseason where he worked at it. He got better at it, and it's showing right now, not only in games, but in practice. So he's being consistent with it. And that's what you want from a young guy. You want the young guy to be consistent with what he's doing out there in the football field. And he continues to do that. Of course, it's going to help the team.
So Adebawore played 34 snaps. That was tied for the most of any player on defense for the Colts. Maybe a little surprising that Dio Odangbo played 30 snaps, just given kind of we know what his role is within this team. But, he's a guy who he got injured early on in camp. He's still kind of working his way back. It doesn't really concern me or surprise me that Dio Odangbo played that much, just kind of getting his conditioning back up so he can start the season strong. And I thought he had a good game too. He had a couple pressures in there, was impactful against the pass. Just one other guy real quick. I forgot to put him on the rundown, who I thought had a really nice game, was Segun Olubi at linebacker.
Yes.
Just a guy he's fast, he's physical. He's a guy who's kind of an energetic leader on special teams, who's now getting a shot to be the 3rd linebacker on defense, maybe the backup Mike on defense as well. I had a chance to catch up with him in the locker room after the game, and he kind of told me that he's got a blueprint, like right here. He's got Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed, who followed the same path that he is now trying to follow as an undrafted free agent, guy who's overlooked. But hey, carve out a role on special teams and now start to work your way up on defense. It's really cool to see him kind of get that much run. He played 34 snaps as well, and I thought had a really solid game.
Yeah, he had a solid game. He led the team in tackles with 9 tackles last night. So he had a real solid game, and he's all over the field. The man runs down to every play. As we talked about effort, he gives that effort that you want to see out of guys. And he has, like you said, he has a great blueprint. Zaire Franklin started on special teams. Now he's on, doing a lot of things on special teams, but when he gets his opportunity to play on defense, he makes the most of it. He's done a nice job. He's been physical, and not just in games, as I said earlier. He's been doing this in camp. I thought a lot of guys have had a good camp, and they also have translated that into the games that when they get in and playing. And that's good to see that, the game is not too big for them, that they're understanding that their responsibilities out there in the football field. They do it in practice and they're carrying it over to the game, and they're not letting other things that happen, because I'm sure things in this game and the other game happen that they don't really see, or the coaches don't let them know about, or don't tell them, because things just happen. Other things happen in the game anytime you're playing in the game. And those guys are able to make the adjustments out there in the football field and not put the team in a bad situation or give up a big play. So the guys are doing a nice job, and give Alubi credit. I like Alubi. I mean, I really like his effort. I really like to see him flying around. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Zaire, because he plays with a lot of energy out there. So it's good to see him out there flying around. And if he can imitate Zaire and pattern his game after Zaire, he's in good shape.
Pretty good.
He's gonna be a good football player.
Real quick, I want to kind of touch on what you just talked about there, the difference between practice and the game, because a couple players told me some different things about that yesterday. Alubi mentioned to me that you can make adjustments kind of on the fly in a game that you're not necessarily making in practice. He talked a lot about pad level, just something as simple as that, where you have to make those adjustments on the fly in a game, because I mean, you don't know how long you're going to be out there on a given drive, and run fits, stuff like that. Tanner Bortolini brought up a point that I never really thought about, but he said in practice, okay, we're with the twos, we're out there for 6 plays. In a game, you might get 3, 4, 5 plays on this drive, or you might get 10 or 15. So it really pushes your conditioning. And then Adetomiwa Adebawore told me that it's different when you make a play in a game. And for him, obviously, he can bring the quarterback to the ground. He can bring the running back to the ground in a game, but it just boosts your confidence in a different way when you go make a play in a game versus in practice. Just for you, Bill, when you played and kind of know the difference there, what was maybe the biggest difference for you in making a play in a practice versus a play in a game?
Well, to me, that all the plays count, but in the game, it's really gonna count in the game, because you also have to realize your teammates are depending on you to make a play, to do your responsibility out there in the football field. So when it does happen, it feels good. It's like anything else. You practice, you put in all these hours and time of lifting weights, going over plays, going over defenses, and you do it in practice a number of times. And then when it comes game time, sometimes things that happen, you expect it, but then there are things that happen that you don't expect, and then you still make a play. That's a good feeling, knowing that you can make that adjustment out there in the football field and make a play, and also not let your teammates down. That's a good feeling. It gives you a boost of energy, knowing that, hey, guys, we can do this. Okay, let's go out there and continue to playing like we have been playing. Let's continue to play like the coaches had coach us to play and practice, and do it out in the football field. So it gives you a boost of energy that you can make the plays, and that you're helping the team be successful out there in the football field.
All right, let's get to a couple of starters who did play in this game. Nick Cross, he played 23 snaps, and then JuJu Brents played 12 snaps. JuJu left the game. He had I think it was a scratch on his nose, nothing that sounded super significant. But by the time he got it taken care of, there's no reason for him to come back into the game. Shane Steichen said JuJu Brents played in this game just because he didn't play last week when he had a bit of a shoulder. So getting him just a little bit of experience out there. And then Nick Cross, you're still trying to, again, you're figuring out that safety pairing. But Bill, I said this on the pregame show, and I meant it when I was on the radio with you guys, that thank goodness we have Rick Venturi here to tell us how the safeties played, right? So guess what I did before this podcast? I texted Rick Venturi and said, how did Nick Cross play? And Rick got back to me, and Rick's going to go into much more depth on this on Inside Football with Rick Venturi this week, I'm sure. But he said Cross was outstanding again. He's on a mission, and he's on fire. The only thing is the Colts are playing a vanilla defense. But this is a really good step, I think, for Nick Cross, that he put some good things on tape. He played a lot of strong safety today. We saw him play that when the Colts have had someone back out there at free safety, but when Julian Blackmon's been in there, we've seen Julian at strong, Nick Cross at free. So again, you're still trying to figure out where, but this felt like, Bill, a step toward the Colts safety pairing being Julian Blackmon and Nick Cross. We just don't quite know where those guys are going to line up yet.
Exactly. And, Nick played some strong, and he made a couple of nice open field tackles where it was just him and the
Two
ball
TFLs,
carrier.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he did a nice job out there. He did his job. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's in a battle with some other guys as far as for fighting for that starting position as far as either strong or free. I don't know where he's going to play at, but whoever he's battling against, he's doing his job as far as making plays and showing the coaches that he wants to be the guy out there starting. And give the man credit. He's done a nice job. He did a nice job this past game. Made some good tackles as I mentioned, and he's flying around because you see Nick Cross out there. He's not tall, but he's a thick individual, and he made some nice tackles, open field tackles. So give the man credit. I'm happy with what I'm seeing from him out there in the football field, especially in game situations. He's doing a nice job in practice. And you know what? He's making the battle tough for those guys. He's making the battle tough for them to make a decision on who should be out there. But in saying that, still got some more time to go. We got a joint practice with Cincinnati, as I mentioned earlier, and of course the game. And they'll have to make a decision, hopefully going before the Houston game. And whatever decision they make, those guys are going to have to go out there and play big because Houston is a good football team.
JuJu Brents had some good coverage, I thought, I think it was one of the first passes of the game. He kind of forced an incompletion in there. Notably here, though, Bill, I think that competition at cornerback is kind of over. Jalen Jones did not play in this game. He's been running with the ones all through training camp. It looks like he has that solidified over Dallas Flowers. And, Dallas is still working his way back from the torn Achilles he had last October against the Rams. That's not, you can get back out on the field, but that's not necessarily you're feeling like yourself
exactly
10 months out type of an injury and recovery timeline. So I think right now what we're looking at is a secondary 5 guys of JuJu Brents, Kenny Moore II, Jalen Jones, Julian Blackmon, and Nick Cross back there. So that's kind of, I think, what your starting 5 are looking like. Now there's always the opportunity for something to happen on roster cutdowns, a waiver claim, a trade, whatever it might be. But I think right now, that's what we're looking like with the starting 5 going into obviously it's joint practice with the Bengals is big. The preseason game is big, but I think I'm kind of starting to write that in pencil for week 1 against Houston.
That's in pencil. I would do the same. Write that in pencil going in right now for Houston, and it could change. And I was happy to see JuJu out there. I wish he could have got more time. I think JuJu needs some time out there on the football field as far as in game situations. He didn't play last week. He only played 9 games last year. So you want to see him out there more, and hopefully, everything's okay with his nose. I think I heard him say everything's fine, that if it was a regular season, he would have been back out there. So want to see him out there, want to see him compete and, to solidify that spot out there. And I think he's done a good job during training camp. So we'll see what happens this week. But those guys, I think if you have those guys out there, let's give them some playing time now. That group some playing time so they can show what they can do. And then, for backups, you got Darrell Baker, who I thought did a decent job last night in the game.
I thought he said good preseason.
Yes, he's done a good job in preseason. So we'll see what happens out there. Some decisions the coaches have to make, but it's I think that they've made, like you said, I think they've made the decision as far as putting it in pencil. But anything can happen, and still there's time to go. So those guys are still battling for some spots. They still have an opportunity.
One real quick injury update that we didn't get to since we were just talking about JuJu with the nose. Jelani Woods left today or last night's game with a toe injury. So we'll keep an eye on that down in Cincinnati. All right, one last thing to get out of here, Bill. Matt Gay missed 2 more field goals today. He has now missed 3 this preseason. He missed 1 from, I believe it was 44, 1 from 54, and then last week he missed 1 from 50 plus. Any reason to worry here for the Colts as they look forward to the regular season?
I'm not worried about the physical part of it as far as, him making kicks or anything physically wrong with him. I'm maybe worried about more from the mental standpoint. To me, I look at it as a golfer. You're not hitting the ball clean, you're not hitting the ball well, and then it starts playing in your head when you get over it, or you're hitting a certain iron that you're not hitting
Why are
that
you talking
well.
about our golf outing this summer, Bill? Why are you throwing me under the bus like that? Because
No, I'm not
that
throwing you
was
in the
me off the
bus.
tee when we played together this summer. Sheesh.
I'm talking about myself, but no, those things, and it gets in your head, and then you start thinking about it. I think maybe I would say the only good thing is most of the kicks have been going left, so he has a one-way miss, so to speak. So hopefully he can correct it. I think he's talking about he was coming over the ball and kind of pulling it. Hopefully he can correct that. And a guy with that experience, you think that he would go back to the drawing board and he should be able to correct that moving forward. So I'm not worried about physically. I'm just worrying about how he's handling it mentally. And hopefully he can go back to his routine, get back into his routine, see what he's doing wrong, and maybe change some things. And hopefully he'll be fine going forward. I know Shane said he's not worried about it. He feels okay about it, that going forward, that he has confidence in Matt. And really, that's all that matters. If Shane has confidence in him, he should be okay as long as he corrects it. And I'm sure he'll be working on it. He's a vet. He's been around long enough that he'll go out there and he'll correct it. And hopefully he'll be fine come Houston.
Yeah, and one other thing to note here, the Colts kicking battery was different for this game. Rigo Sanchez he was not at the stadium. He was there for the birth of his second child with his wife, Cynthia. Congratulations to the Sanchez family.
Congratulations.
So Spencer Schrader, the rookie kicker, was handling holding duties. So I don't know. I don't know if that's an excuse. I don't know if that's an explanation. I'm using my hands and hitting my microphone. It's maybe a factor that's notable that it's not going to happen during the regular season. That'll be Rigo out there as the holder. But again, yeah, I mean, the Colts are going to need Matt Gay to hit those kicks in the regular season. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Bill. You trust him to go make those corrections.
Yes. So
all right, well, that's going to do it for us. Good.
I was going to say, yeah, he'll make the corrections. He'll spend time. I'm sure he's going to spend time watching film and seeing what's going on, seeing what maybe he's doing wrong that he can adjust. And that's going to be big for him. And also Coach Mason probably will talk with him and, they'll look at some things and see how they can handle things differently and move forward from there. But I think he'll be fine once the regular season hits.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Instant Reaction here on the Colts Audio Network and on the Colts YouTube page. Bill and I will be back bright and early Friday morning after the Colts wrap up the preseason against the Cincinnati Bengals at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati. Until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. So long.